The big African transfer of the summer saw Victor Osimhen of Nigeria swap Lille and France for Napoli and Serie A in a deal worth $70 million. Colin, it's a massive move. What can Napoli fans expect from Osimhen on and off the field?
Yeah, I think we'll start with off the pitch. I think what they're going to get is a very fine, humble young man with his head to the ground, who will not, be the type to cause any dressing room disruptions or create any problems, that will disrupt the team. And we've seen that from his time at Wolfsburg when he was injured, to Charleroi, to Lille, and every time he's been the model professional, which brings us back to the fact that we have to look at what happens on the pitch, and on the pitch he's delivered every time. He was an understudy to Udoh Igalo with the Nigerian national team, and once Igalo retired and he took over, he went 4 for 4, playing for the Super Eagles. And then with Charleroi, he scored goals. With Lille, he scored 13 goals, was right on the verge of breaking Victor Ikpeba's record, single season record of 14 goals for a Nigerian in France, before he was rudely interrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So he brings that direct player who will run at goal, he'll run at people, he'll hustle, he'll try and get goals as much as possible. And he's already shown it in the friendlies he's played, 2 hat-tricks, and you can't ask for more.
Well, and it's all very good banging in goals against Benin and scoring 13 goals in Liga. And it's all very well and good being a modest young man. But he is going to have to deal with some serious pressure at Napoli. And I'm not just talking about the transfer fee, which puts him 5th in the all-time most expensive African transfers. But I'm talking about comments made by NFF president Amadou Pinnick, who likened Osimhen to Maradona, Napoli legend Maradona, even before he'd signed on the dotted line with Napoli. He vowed to Napoli fans that Osimhen would match or even break the record set by Maradona in southern Italy. And this is the kind of pressure that anyone would find it hard to deal with. Are you confident that Osimhen can cope with this kind of pressure on his young shoulders?
Well, it's funny you say that. Pinnick is a very good friend of mine. And, he can be a bit, how should we say, exaggerating at times. And so far, he's 0 for 1. If you remember, he when Nigeria signed Sunday Olise as coach, he called him the Africa Guardiola. And within a few months, Olise was gone, and there was nothing, no title, few wins to show for it. So I think what Napoli fans can take from that is look at his previous record of comparing people and see that, they don't need to put any pressure on the young man. And, in fairness, Gennaro Gattuso, the manager, has come out to say, don't put any pressure on this young man. Let him just play his football. And look, anybody would fall, would sort of be weighed down by that kind of pressure. We've seen Argentine players come out and, be the next Maradona up until Messi came out. We've seen players come out to be the next Pelé. It's just not going to happen. And I think it's the same thing with Osimhen. We don't need to compare him to anybody. He's his own man, he's his own player. And, he's carving his own path at Napoli. So let's hope that, he keeps his head down like he always does, gets the goals, and, makes his own history with the club.
I do think, in fairness to Pinnick, the African Guardiola is a pretty catchy nickname, and it's a real shame that Sunday Olise didn't realise that potential. But back to Osimhen, you touched on those comments by Gattuso in that press conference after Osimhen had made such a big impact in a friendly. He said, it's not like we've signed Pelé or Maradona or something. Obviously, he said that in Italian. But do you think that was a coach actively trying to ease the pressure on this player's shoulders to somewhat extinguish the excitement and the hype there is around this young player arriving?
Oh, definitely. I would do the same thing if I were in his shoes. Look, the fact that we're even talking about it right now, is additional pressure because, look, you don't want to compare anybody with Maradona. You don't want to compare anybody with Pelé, and you want everyone, you want the players to sort of, carve their own path. And Osimhen is a young man. He's just more or less starting out in his career. So you want him to be able to do that without any pressure. And then we can look back at the end of his career and say, okay, look, this is what he did. And then we can now see how he stacks up against these legends. But to put him under that kind of pressure at this point in time, I think it's outrageous, to be honest.
Earlier in the window, at one point, it looked like he may move to the English Premier League. There were rumours that Tottenham Hotspur were interested, but that Osimhen wasn't keen to perhaps play second fiddle to Harry Kane. In the end, he finds himself at a Napoli team, really as a collective who have a point to prove after last season's 7th place finish. They fell well short of their high standards. But in the likes of Milik or Dries Mertens or Insigne, Osimhen will find himself surrounded by some really talented offensive players, the kind of players, the calibre of which he perhaps hasn't worked with in the past. How do you think he is going to fit in on the field with these attacking players? And are you confident that, considering some of the options that were open to him, he's made the right move in moving to Napoli?
I think he has. Look, at the end of the day, like we always say, you go where the money is. Whoever puts money on the table, that's where you sign for. And Napoli were the ones who put the money where their mouth was. And they brought it. He looked at it. We had all that issues, where he came up and had some disagreement with his former agent and fired him and brought a new one in to get the deal over the line. But all of that, just to show how committed he was to making this Napoli deal work. There really was nothing else concrete coming from elsewhere. At the end of the day, he made a great decision. And I think that when you look at, the caliber of players like you've mentioned who are going to be playing with him, look, it's almost a no-brainer. And we've seen it already, in the friendlies that he's played so far. Where he hasn't scored, he's been in great positions to score. The service has been there. Now it's a question of him taking his opportunities. Of course, it's a given. Friendly games are no barometer for judging how players are going to do in the actual Serie A environment, playing against some of the best defenders in the world. But it's good for his confidence. It's good for his teammates to know that if they put the ball in front of him, he can stick it away.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.